We have all heard the story of that man named Zacchaeus, how he sought to see who Jesus was. We know his background, that he was a chief tax collector. That means he was considered to be a bad, wicked sinner, a man that society had pushed aside. And what happens is, one day when he heard that Jesus was passing by, he sought to see who Jesus was. That's what scripture says. Well, when we read in Luke chapter 19 verse 4, it says, "So he ran ahead and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was going to pass that way." Who? Because Jesus was going to pass that way. So what did Zacchaeus do? Because he couldn't see him, he climbed up a tree, the sycamore tree. And look what happened in the next verse. It says, "And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up." That means that very spot where Zacchaeus had climbed up that tree, Jesus stops there. See that word? Jesus stops there, looks up and saw him. Now remember, there was a crowd. In that crowd, Jesus only sees Zacchaeus. He picks up only Zacchaeus and said to him, "Zacchaeus, make haste and come down, for today I must stay at your house." What is it that made Jesus stop and look up and see Zacchaeus? He did not look at anybody else. He looked at Zacchaeus. He did not speak to anybody else, but he spoke to Zacchaeus. He did not go to anyone else's house in that place at that point of time, but he did go to Zacchaeus' house. Why? Well, one of the things that you and I need to understand is, when God looks at you, He doesn't look at the religious acts that you do, of how much you fasted, how much you've prayed, but He definitely looks at your heart. He looks at your heart. Remember, scripture does say, "My people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me." Let me say that again. My people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. Let me ask us a question. Are we people who honor God with the lips, or are we people who seek God with all our hearts? The scripture says, "If you seek me with all your heart." David was known to be a man after God's heart. When we read in Revelations chapter 2, we read of God saying, "I have this against you, that you have left your first love." You and I need to understand, as you begin this day, let us not just be religious people, but let us be people who seek God with all our hearts. Remember, Zacchaeus, he sought to see who Jesus was. Jesus could see his heart. And what did Jesus do? He stopped in the midst of that crowd. He stops and looks to Zacchaeus and speaks to him. I want to tell you, if you are a God seeker, if you are a God chaser, Jesus is going to stop where you are. He will meet you at your point of need. He will meet you at your most lowest point of your life. Why? Because you seek after Him. And the amazing thing is, we will see how He will also restore you, because that's what Jesus did to Zacchaeus, right? Zacchaeus was restored inside out. The same will follow you. Remember, seeking God is not a matter of religion, it's a matter of the heart. Let your heart be set right with God. Let your heart chase after God. Love Him with all your heart, and you will see Him meet you at your point of need. God bless you.